The loveliest of ladies and the greatest of gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of League Chat with the Stat, second episode of the two-part series of the 2023 NRL season previews. It's your boy Stat once again. Really good to be here, giving you the next part of the two-part series of the season preview of going through all the teams that finished in the top 8 of last year, just figuring how they go this year, the big questions that we need to ask, their recruitment, who they gained, who they lost, and everything in between. So, look, I really appreciate your support in the first video. Clearly, I have some work to do with these camera angles and everything else, but we'll sort it out in due time. Don't worry about that. But I really hope you enjoyed that episode. The first one, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing it around. Much appreciated. But look, I'm going to get straight into this one. Very exciting one here. Getting a bit excited now, considering that we're going through the top 8 of last year. And just recapping everything, all positive on this end of the ladder. So, look, we'll start off with the team that finished 8th, the Canberra Raiders. They've obviously gained Danny Levi from the Huddersfield Giants and Pasami Saulo from the Newcastle Knights. They've lost Adam Elliott to the Knights, Josh Hodgson to the Eels, Chance Nickel-Klukstad to the Warriors, Harry Rushton to the Giants, Ryan Sutton to the Bulldogs, and Sam Williams left mid-year last year. Pretty much effective immediately. Look, a bit quiet on the recruitment front. Like I said, Danny Levi was the only main signing there to the club. Pasami Saulo, again, mentioned their side from the Knights on a 2-year deal. A little bit concerned that they've got 3 hookers there. They've got depth almost all over the park. But there is extreme concern for depth in their fullback. Now, Xavier Savage had a pretty big preseason. Came into the second trial, I believe the first trial in the preseason challenge, and shattered his jaw. So he's going to be out for the first 8 weeks of the season. The problem there with that for the Raiders is that they don't have the appropriate coverage to cover the loss of Savage. Now, you've got different backs there like Sebastian Kris, Jordan Rapana, you got Harley Smith-Shields, you got Matt Tomoko, but these are all pretty much solid in their positions. Jordan Rapana has already said that he doesn't want to go in and play fullback again. So it does concern me there a little bit, if I'm going to be completely honest, what Canberra are going to do when it comes to the fullback position with the Savage being out for 8 weeks or so. But look, will Raiders make the top 8? Honestly, if they can keep everyone on the park, I think they can. We've got to remember they made it to week 2 of the finals last year. They beat the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne. So we know the type of footy they can play when they turn up. And I've got no doubt with Fogarty now playing and being injury-free, being able to, obviously last year he missed 16 rounds due to that PCL injury. So with him being there and Danny Levi coming in, obviously it gives a bit of depth in the hooker position. But like I said, with majority of the team still being there as well, I think Raiders will make the 8, and they'll look to have a similar impact to what they did last year in season 2023. Will they go and sign another fullback? Look, I think they should. We saw what happened. The Sharks, with Cade Dykes going down to an ACL injury. At the same point, Lachlan Miller moved to the Knights, but they bought coverage in that position. I do forget the name, and I do apologise. I believe it was an Italian international was what the Sharks did there. But the Canberra Raiders will need to go and do something similar. They do have Apple Hopewadi as well, who they could potentially use at fullback. But like I said, if they're not going to look to use who they've got within, they need to recruit someone to cover these next 8 weeks for the Canberra Raiders, with Xavier Savage being out. Now, moving on to the South Sydney Rabbitohs, they didn't sign anyone. So they've got a pretty stable side. They'd made a lot of re-signings, however, but they did lose Mark Nichols to the Dolphins, Cody Nikorima to the Dolphins, and Jackson Paulo to the Roosters. So question begs, of the Rabbitohs making the top 8? Definitely. They've made it to 5 prelims in a row now. They now have, I believe they've had the team for a while, but they know that they've got the team. I reckon they can look to advance and go a step further. Potentially Smokey for the grand final. They're one of my few Smokies that I've got, which we're going to cover as well. But look, they definitely make the top 8. They're a massive Smokey for a top 4, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think they've got the stability in the side, to be able to go further and deeper in the finals. It all hinges on how Latrell Mitchell goes. If Latrell Mitchell can keep it together on the field, not get suspended, not get injured, he's vital to that side. We all know exactly what he can bring. I truly believe that as long as Latrell is playing and he's in that form and everyone else is clicking, the spine is the same as last year. They've got continuity there. Excuse me. Cook at 9. You've got Ilias at 7, you've got Walker at 6, and Latrell at 1. So I'm I'm not too concerned with how they go throughout the season. I know they'll make the 8, they'll even make the top 4, but they need to be able to find what it takes to go and dig deeper and go to the next game after that, which is the grand final. Look, can Latrell take his game to another level? I think he can. The way he performed the back end of last year was extraordinary. I genuinely have no doubt that he'll be able to do that again this year. Hoping for a more consistent run this year, to be honest with you. You know, like I said, he got injured last year, suspended as well. But I really think if he sheds that weight and he stays really fit, you know, we can see another dominant year from Latrell Mitchell, and he can play a massive part in taking his side to potentially a grand final this year. Now, will Lachlan Ilias fall pressure to second-year syndrome? Look, I'd like to think no. I don't think he will. Obviously, with the players he's got around him and the experience he's got around in the club, and with the great coaching staff they've got there, picking up Sam Burgess as well, with John Morris, Ben Hornby, and Jason Demetrio, I don't see that being the case. In fact, I can only see him in this preseason building stronger combinations. And like I said, I really think that with the side that they've got, they can really take it another level. And I'm sure with the experience Ilias got last year and what he took over this preseason, I'm sure he'll be primed and ready for another year. So I don't necessarily have too many concerns when it comes to Ilias falling under that second-year syndrome tag, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Next thing to discuss, the Sydney Roosters. They signed Brendan Smith from the Storm, Jake Turpin from the Broncos, Jackson Paulo from the Rabbitohs, and Corey Allen from the Bulldogs. They lost Siawa Takiaho to Catalan Dragons, Sam Verrills to the Titans, Adam Kieran to Catalan Dragons as well. Renoff Tony has gone over to Wakefield Wildcats in the Super League, and Kevin Agama has gone to the Huddersfield Giants. Look, they obviously make coverage here with losing Sam Verrills by signing Braden Smith. Great signing for the club. Look, they make the 8. They're a smoky for the top 4. I know they're going to be impacted for round 1 with a few injuries there with Jadwira Hargraves, Joey Manu, obviously Angus Crichton, who's gone on a personal leave at the moment, who's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And, you know, you've got Satilu Tupanua, who's recovering from that ACL injury sustained last year. So there's going to be question marks to how they start the year, but I'm sure as the year goes on, I'm sure they'll be able to, you know, keep it together. Definitely a smoky for the top 4. I even think with the side they got, they could even go one step further into the grand final, if I'm honest as well. You know, barring any injuries and suspensions and everything else. So, look, I got big hopes for the Roosters this year. They'll bounce back from last year. Very poor year to their standards, but they'll be back better and bigger than ever this year. Does Brandon Smith impress in his first year? I think he does. I think we'll start to see the making of a man that Trent Robinson really wants from Brandon Smith, and a bit more maturity in his play. So I'm really excited to see how he'll go. He'll do a lot better than Verrills did. Look, they've got Turpin there as backup, but I don't think he'll be playing much first grade anyway. But I'm excited to see what Brandon Smith can do in another professional system like the Sydney Roosters. Does Joseph Suaalii continue to impress in his young career? Yeah, I do. I think, you know, he'll be in the centres this year. Really excited to continue to watch how he performs and how he goes. And I'm really keen to see what he's able to do to take his game to another level. Now, there's always going to be contract clauses, and there's going to be issues around his contract that is always going to be bothering him. There's going to always be lingering around. I'm sure Roosters want to get that sorted out early so they can have a pretty smooth year. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if he even became a smoky for Origin. He was 18th or 19th man last year as well. So I'm expecting big things from Joseph Suaalii. Again, I think he'll only get better from here. I can't see him hitting a decline in any sense of the word. He's in a great system, got great players around him, great experience. He's going to thrive, and we're going to see some special highlights from Joseph Suaalii for the Roosters this year. So I'm really excited to see how he's going to go there. Melbourne Storm have signed Tariq Sims from the Saints, Elisa Katoa from the Warriors, Aaron Penne from the Warriors, and Joe Chan from the Catalan Dragons. They lost Jesse Bromwich, Kenny Bromwich, Felice Kafusi, all to the Dolphins, Brandon Smith to the Roosters, Cooper Johns to the Sea Eagles, and Tyson Smoothy to the Broncos. They've lost an incredible amount of experience in that back row and in their forward pack. Jesse Bromwich, Kenny Bromwich, Felice Kafusi, Brandon Smith. 4 massive losses. Now, thankfully, they've obviously got coverage in hooker for Harry Grant. They've gone and purchased Tariq Sims and Elisa Katoa to cover for Felice Kafusi and Kenny Bromwich. They've got Trent Loiro. You know, they've got Joe Chan, who they've signed as well. They've got Tepai Moroa. They've got Tui Kamikamica as well. They've got a lot of forwards. They've got a lot of depth there. But the important signing of Tariq Sims is one I'm really, in Elisa Katoa, I'm really intrigued to see how they're going to go under a different system, a bit more professional system compared to the Dragons and the Warriors respectively. So I'm looking to see how Craig Bellamy is going to get them to perform, once they're fully fit and they're ready to go. I know Elisa Katoa is fully fit. I know Tariq Sims is carrying a calf injury as well. So I'm genuinely intrigued to see how well they're going to be utilised and just to see the regret that the Dragons and the Warriors are going to have by letting these two players go. Will Storm make the 8? Yes, they will. I am not really concerned about them not making the 8. I think they'll be there. There's obviously concerns around Ryan Pappenhausen and, with when he's going to return, how far along he's going to return. Obviously, he's recovering from a massive injury and he was also in America with Bill Knowles, getting that all done. Look, I'll be honest, I'm not expecting to see him for the first 10 to 12 rounds of the year. I think it's going to be a slow recovery process. But like I said, they got Nick Meaney, who did a solid job when called upon last year. Cameron Munster can go to fullback as well, should that be the worst case scenario. But they've got depth all over the park to cover those particular positions. For the Storm, they will start the year a bit rough though. There are a lot of injuries happening at the moment. Justin Olam, broke his arm. Dan Oromea did his ACL. You've got Tariq Sims with the calf. Just to name a few. Tui Kamikamica did his ankle. Needs was out for 6 weeks of the season. They've got a lot of injuries there already. And it'll be interesting to see how Storm pull it together and really dig deep. They've got George Jennings missing as well. There's a lot of backs that are missing in that side. But like I said, they'll dig deep. It's Melbourne Storm. It's Craig Bellamy. I trust that he'll want to go out with a bang this year as well, because I think he may call it quits at the end of the season with all reports coming through. Look, with a 70% win rate as well, I'm excited to see him have one last crack, give it everything he's got, have one big year for that side, and then see what happens after in his transition away from coaching. But then again, it's Craig Bellamy. Wouldn't even be surprised if he was to decide, I want to coach another year again. I think he loves it too much to step away. I think he'll get that FOMO, to be quite honest with you. Can Katoa go to a different level now that he's at the Storm? Yes, he can. Him and Tariq Sims. Like I said, very intrigued to see how they perform. We saw glimpses of Elisa Katoa, in that second trial against the Warriors, running that perfect line to score that try in the second half. So he's young. He's got potential. I'm excited to see how he's going to go. And I'm really intrigued to just watch him carefully this year. I think he's going to be a standout for the Storm. I think he's going to be invaluable to that team. And I'm genuinely excited to see how he performs in a successful side like the Melbourne Storm, and to see the best out of his game week in, week out. So I'm very intrigued to see how he's going to go there. Moving on to the grand finalists of last year, the Parramatta Eels. They've signed Josh Hodgson from the Raiders, Jermaine Hopgood from the Panthers, Jack Murchie from the Warriors, Matt Dury from the Bulldogs, Jaya Momoisia from the Knights, and Dejan Arce from the Warriors. And this is where they're going to be struggling a lot this year with the losses. They've lost Marnie to the Bulldogs, Isaiah Papali'i to the Tigers, Maratani Kore to the Warriors, Oregon Kafusi to the Sharks, Tom Opicic to Hull Kingston Rovers, Ray Stone to the Dolphins, and Hayes Perham to the Bulldogs. Big question marks with the replacements that they've got. I'm really concerned about Josh Hodgson. 3 ACL injuries in the past 5 years. I'm genuinely shocked that, Parramatta would go out and sign something like that. Obviously, they signed him, and a few weeks later, he did his ACL. But even at the time, 2 ACL injuries in 4 years rings alarm bells for me. They got desperate to try and find a hooker, and they landed with Josh Hodgson. Again, 33 years of age, I believe, 2-year, $800K deal. I think it's, I don't know about the price. I know he's got a good experience, and I know he's going to be all right. They're going to miss money too much, if I'm going to be honest with you. So we'll see what happens there. I do have my question marks on them. Matt Dury and Murchie, they're pretty good cover in that second row position. It's going to be a completely new back row, so I'm intrigued to see how they go with, Sean Lane being injured and Ryan Madison being suspended for the first 3 games. Don't know why I even decided that. The one side I'm looking forward to seeing is Jermaine Hopgood. I've heard so many good things about this player from the Panthers, come to the Penrith system. A player that they wish they kept but couldn't. Isaiah Yeo, over there at Penrith, is killing it there. What I'm looking forward to seeing is just how well he adapts to that side. I think he'll be a starting lock, come round 1. So I'll be very intrigued to see how it all goes down, how he fans out. You know, I saw him play in the Indigenous game as well, and he was brilliant. Saw him in the trials. He played really well. And I'm sure if he stays injury-free, he's going to have a gun year for them. Eels make the 8, yes, but don't only just make the 8. I don't see them going back to being in the top 4, sniffing around the top 4. They're now a side that they'll be linking around the bottom 8. I do think they'll make it, but I think they'll stay around the bottom 8 there. So who goes to second row to cover and the back and lock to cover Madison, Lane, and Papali'i? Look, I think they're going to go with Matt Dury, Jack Murchie, and Jermaine Hopgood. I know that Bryce Cartwright has a facial fracture. I don't know if he's going to come in and if he's going to get a spot in the starting side. I'm sure he'd probably come off the bench. But then again, who knows? Maybe the Cardi Party might even get a start. But look, I think they'll probably go Dury, because I know he was carrying an ankle injury as well, Murchie, and then they'll go Hopgood at lock there for a little bit. They'll wait for Nathan Brown to come back from that hamstring injury, for Sean Lane to come from that facial fracture, and for Ryan Madison to finish up that suspension of 3 weeks before coming into the side there. Can Mitch Moses have another big year and take his side back to the grand final? No. And I say no to him taking his side back to the grand final. I think they lost way too much experience. They're not the same team as they were. I have some really big concerns around that. I think Moses will have a decent year. I think he needs to sort out his contract first, whether he's going to stay at Para or he's going to go to Tigers. My mail is that he's staying at Parramatta. It's been signed for a while. He's playing a bit of hardball with money at the moment, but I think he'll stay, and I think he will finish out the career at the Parramatta Eels. But I do think he needs to get it sorted prior to round 1 so that he can have a smooth year just thinking about footy and trying to guide his team to probably get back to that promised land. But like I said, I don't have massive hopes for Parramatta this year. Obviously, last year made the grand final, impressive run. Unfortunately, couldn't get the bickies at the end, but I just see them struggling a lot this year, and it's going to be intriguing to see how they go. Moving on to the North Queensland Cowboys. They signed James Tamo and Jack Kuchevsky. Obviously, when you come to sides in that finish mainly in the top 3 or 4, apart from Parramatta, usually they don't need to make drastic changes. Usually they just need to make a few depth signings to just bolster their packs. But yeah, like I said, Cowboys gained Tamo and Kuchevsky. They lost Hamza Tabuafero to the Dolphins, Tom Gilbert to the Dolphins, Corneli Lumulu to the Dolphins, Ben Condon to the Sea Eagles, and Brendan Frey to the Broncos. Like I said, considering their success and what a crazy year they had last year, they were my Wooden Spooners last year, and then they made top 4 in the prelims. And heartbreaking to see them lose to Parramatta Eels in that prelim final. But that unruly paid them, got them firing, got everyone playing to their strengths, and it was a pleasure to watch. So a little bit quiet on the recruitment front, but they didn't really need to make anything too drastic there. Will Cowboys make the 8? Yes. I think they can make the top 4. This side hasn't changed much, but just gained more experience. So I think they'll make the top 4, and I think there'll be another smoky for me to make the grand final, if I'm going to be honest. Can they go one better this year? I think they can. If they can remain consistent and play the same footy they played last year, I can't see why I can't see why they won't make the grand final. I had like an early prediction, Cowboys versus Roosters. I'm thinking Cowboys versus Rabbitohs, thinking Cowboys versus Sharks, but I've got Cowboys in one position for the grand final already. But part of me thinks it'll be Cowboys Roosters or Cowboys Rabbitohs, but obviously we need to see how the season pans out. The Cronulla Sharks have signed Oregon Kafusi from the Eels, and they're only signing for season 2023. They lost Andrew Fafita, who retired, and Aidan Tolman, who retired as well. Luke Metcalf to the Warriors, Franklin Perez to the Bulldogs, and Lachlan Miller to the Knights. Like I said, they picked up Kafusi and to gain that forward back experience to cover, Tolman and Fafita. Look, I'm thinking they're gonna have another big year. Will they make the 8? Yes. They'll probably even make finish second last year. So they'll make the top 4 again, I reckon. Will Nico Hines have another crazy year, mate? In his first year to get Dally M, super impressive. And look, I think he can have another great year. I can't see why he wouldn't be able to go for the Dally M again, considering the way he plays. Just how free-flowing his football is. I think he's a real smoky to have another massive year. He's a great ambassador of the game. But I'm liking what I've seen of him so far in the Indigenous game and in what I saw in the trial against the Bulldogs as well. So I'm keen to see Hines take it another level and seeing if the Sharks can probably try to go one better this year and make prelims or grand final. And lucky last, the premiers, the back-to-back premiers, the Penrith Panthers. Again, just a couple of depth signings. Luke Garner from the Tigers, Zach Hosking from the Broncos, Tyrone Peachy from the Tigers, and Jack Cogger from the Giants. They lost Apasai Koroisau to the Tigers, Viliama Kikau to the Dogs, Charlie Saints to the Tigers, Robert Jennings to the Dolphins, Sean O'Sullivan to the Dolphins, and Jermaine Hopgood to the Eels. Again, only needed to buy to cover for Viliama Kikau, and they went and got Garner and Hosking. Pretty solid signings if you ask me. Will they make the 8? Yes. Could they make the top 4? I'm going to say yes. I do have my doubts. I have some extreme concerns about that. I think the loss of Apasai Koroisau is a huge loss for the side. I do think that Sonny Luke and Mitch Kenny, they're going to have to alternate between the two. They obviously don't. They play their different strengths. They don't offer what Koroisau offers. So I think they're going to really struggle in that area, and clearly need to find a way to make that right. Can they go for the three-peat? Of course they can. I mean, you can't write off a team like the Panthers. A lot of people tried to do that last year and they went back-to-back. So I don't think writing them off is the smartest idea. How big of a loss is Koroisau? It's huge. Tigers are laughing with the 3-year deal they got him for. Got him for good coin as well. But like I said, he was invaluable to the Panthers. You got to remember, he signed a deal, or he had a rumour to sign a deal with the Bulldogs before backflipping and going to the Panthers. Probably the best thing he ever did when you consider he won 2 rings as well. They will miss him big time. Sonny Luke, I see, will probably come off the bench after 20, 25 minutes after Kenny gets to the defensive work and starts the game out for the first 20-odd. So he will cover the rest of the 55 minutes, Sonny Luke, but I think they're going to have to alternate and really try to work on the right balance between the two players there. Who takes the second row between Garner and Hosking? I think based off the experience, Garner. Wouldn't be surprised if Hosking does get a run at some point. But I think Hosking will start the New South Wales Cup and Garner will take that second row spot to replace Viliama Kikau. And can Nathan Cleary reach new heights in 2023? I mean, why not? He's the best player in the world right now. Best half in the comp. He's a player you look at and you know he's worth every single dollar he's getting of his $1.2, $1.3 million deal per year that he's getting at the Panthers. He's just a phenomenal player. He's so smart. He's brilliant, and he's still got a whole career ahead of him. He's a back-to-back premiership winner. I mean, he can find new heights this year, and I'm really intrigued to see just how far he can take his side further into the finals again. And I'm really keen to see him continue to develop his game and to just get better in the little things, and yeah, just to see how he goes this year and how he guides his side. So Nathan Cleary, I'm not really concerned with. Again, a player you look at, you know, he's worth every single penny that you pay for him. And is valuable to the Panthers, and it's going to be exciting to watch him play and go around again this year. Thank you for joining me again. A bit of a short episode, but that's both parts of the season preview of the 17 teams playing out for the prize at the end of 2023. Make sure to like the podcast, share it, subscribe, comment. You want to jump on, leaguechatwiththestat@gmail.com. And if you want to be a guest, reach out as well. See me on the street, come say hello. If you see me out and about, come say hello. Let me know if you like my podcast, you hate it. Do whatever you want. Don't really care. I'm good with, meeting new people. And, yeah, like I said, just this is really chill. It's, something I do. I love doing, giving my 2 cents and my input to you guys. But I always appreciate you tuning in, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with me for another year. Very excited to see how we go. Up the doggies. But, yeah, guys, enjoy. We're going to be dropping a round 1 preview as well of the new signings in the teams and everything else. So get ready for that. And round 1 just around the corner, baby. So let's get excited. Have a good one, guys. Take it easy. Enjoy this podcast. Hope you enjoy the one and enjoy every step of the season this way. Take it easy, guys. Cheers.